Hello, everyone. Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. I hope this week has started out well for you, and I'm really excited about today's guest because she's a fellow mystery writer, but way more accomplished than I am. So somebody that I really look up to and aspire to be just like. I have with us today Anne Emery, who is a lawyer and author of the Collins Burke Mystery Series. She's won several awards, including the Crime Writers of Canada Award for Best Crime Novel and Best First Novel, the Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction, and an Independent Publisher Book Award Silver Medal. She lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Counted Among the Dead, her most recent release, is her 14th novel. So we've got lots to chat about. Anne is also a member of the Crime Writers of Canada that I just was brave enough to join with a couple of crime fictions under my belt, and hadn't heard of her before and was so excited and have already started digging into her books. And I've read this beauty, Postmark Berlin, which I don't have many hardcovers, but it's so nice to hold like a nice solid book in your hand. And then, of course, the other end of the spectrum, I started reading on my Kindle, this one, Sign of the Cross. So 2 down and 12 to go. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Anne up to join me. Hi, Anne. Thank you so much.
Great to be here.
So nice to have you. And like I said, fairly recently joined Crime Writers of Canada, but, was a bit nervous about doing that because, I'm still quite a novice, but just so amazing to have folks like you to follow and to learn from. So I'm excited to have you on today.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words in the introduction as well.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. So which was your first award? So it said a first novel, Crime Writers?
Yes,
which
for
one was
Sign
that?
of the Cross. The Sign of the Cross was the first book, and that won the best novel, crime novel. The book came out in 2006. It won in 2007 for the best first novel.
Oh, congratulations. So that was a good one for me to choose as the next one to read. Should I be reading them in order, or does it matter?
Well, I would suggest people read at least the first one first, because that introduces the characters, puts the relationship in order and everything like that. So that's kind of helpful that way. I mean, reading them in order in a way is good, but I just recommend at least the first one first.
Excellent. Well, and I give a shout out to Sue Slade. It was probably her that recommended that I read your books, because she's my regular supplier at Dartmouth Book Exchange. And she's jumping in here and she says we can't keep her books on our shelves. Well, how wonderful is that?
Oh, well, I guess so, yeah.
That's high praise.
It is indeed. I'll take it.
You know what? Whenever she recommends somebody, I jump on it because she's usually right. So when you said the main character or the characters, so the series kind of hones in on a couple of main characters, Father Burke and Monty Collins, right?
Yes.
So where did those characters come from? And I guess before you answer that, how long have you been writing? How long did it take you to write 14 novels?
Well, the first one came out in 2006. So we're up 19 years now. But of course, it took a few years writing it and then searching for a publisher and this kind of thing. So, 3 years maybe of that. And,
wow.
And then they came out.
That's incredible. So 14 books in 19 years is an amazing accomplishment. So, I mean, this is your full-time occupation?
Yes, I'm retired from the law now. So I wasn't practicing. I was a research lawyer. I mean, a member of the bar and all that, but mostly it was researching, writing, passing the things in, and going home at a normal time of day. So
Love it.
And of course, research and writing is right up my field anyway. So,
I love it. And was your legal career in Halifax mostly?
Yes, it was. It wasn't in criminal law though. But my husband's a criminal lawyer. So I have lots of people that I could kind of model Monty Collins after, not directly. He's not directly reflective of any particular person, but lots of, things that I could put into the character from criminal law.
Usually an amalgamation.
Yeah.
There's another local writer who was a lawyer and writes crime fiction, Pam, whose books I love too. Yeah. So
Pam was amazing in other way too, because I've met her at times, and when she writes chronologically from as soon as she starts, page 1, 2, 3. She's able to write that way. But to me, I have to, if I know something's going to happen halfway through the book or near the end of the book, I have to write that right now and then fit them in. But it amazes me that she could do that.
That is incredible. And, I love to hear about people's processes. And I know a lot of our viewers do as well. So would you say you're a pantser, not a plotter? Like, do you put out the whole plot line before you sit down to write?
No, I would know, the main thing that happened. Someone's murdered, and I'd know the motivation and the person. But a lot of the other elements of it, I wouldn't have ready. I'd write a scene near the end, or I'd write this scene and then eventually put them together. So I wouldn't have the whole thing plotted out. But I know that it's the main thing for me are the characters. So this is something else the characters have to deal with, it's such and such a book, such and such plot, such a crime or whatever. So I love that.
So have you, when you were working as a lawyer, research lawyer, did you always have in the back of your mind that you wanted to write a novel?
Oh, all my life. I've always wanted to write. That's the one thing I want to do. And I joke about this, but I wrote my first mystery story when I was in grade 3.
I love it.
And most of the kids would write their stories, My Pony or My Doggy or something. Mine was called An Interesting Scene.
Oh, and what was it about?
I can hardly remember the plot of it. I do remember it had lots of fussy punctuations and everything in it. And it didn't solve the mystery. I think I'd left it open. I didn't realize then you have to solve it. I really didn't know what happened. But I think I have it somewhere in my collection I could look up, and I should read it again, see if it makes any sense, which I doubt it does. But
that's too funny.
But I always want to write. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So you touched a little bit on Monty Collins, who is the lawyer in the series. Tell us about Father Burke, because he is a very interesting, multifaceted, and I've only read 1.5 books, but I'm drawn in, I'm addicted now. So, I'll eventually have 14 of your books. I anticipate. Where did the idea for Father Burke come from?
I'm not sure. A lot of my inspiration comes from music. And one of the inspirations for him may have been the Bob Dylan song, The Man in the Long Black Coat. Okay. It's just the song, he was his face like a mask when someone asked him to dance or something like this. I mean, it's just, and I guess I wanted someone who was spiritual, but also intellectual, and also has his weaknesses and his flaws as well.
Of course.
And I get more comments on him as a character than anyone else, from everything from where can I meet him, what church is he at?
You're right.
To one woman said, he's not fit to do anything but get down on his knees and scrub the floor of that church. Didn't approve of him at all. And one reviewer referred to him as the beloved foul-mouthed priest. He does use some salty language, and he takes a drink, and
he does.
He's a character, and it's lots
a little
of fun
more
writing.
drink than he should possibly. Yeah. Yes.
Right here, I got to show you this prop now. That
please, yes.
Yeah. Writer's Tears whiskey, which I've been in Ireland so many times, and I can't believe I didn't know about this kind of whiskey. And I was at the Old Triangle a couple of weeks ago, and I looked over, got to have that. So, I mean, writers can have tears at times, but this is solution apparently. So
just a little bit. Oh my goodness, I'm sure that our paths have crossed at the Old Triangle. It's one of my favorite places. So
that Nelly's, Dirty Nelly's. Oh yeah,
it's very, very good.
I'll have to keep my with Father Burke's Day that he would be dividing his time between the two of those places. I know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
it's fun to write about, and that's what I get most comments. And one time I have 3 friends who read my books first before I even submit them to the publisher. One my husband and 2 other friends. And one friend, just for the fun of it, one of my books I wrote, and I didn't put the ending in. So things were going really bad for Father Burke in this. And I just, let her read that. I won't give her the ending. She handed it back to me as if it was a cough and said, "What have you done?" Well, people do get into the characters, so I'm glad of that,
Please don't kill him off, right?
Don't want to do that.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's interesting. And boy, after 14 books, like you will never kill them off because they're such a part of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's right. Well said.
Oh my goodness. And they start talking to you, and in my last book, there was a character I had, and I'm a pantser. Like I can have a few plot points, but I don't ever I can write from beginning to end, but there are tons of gaps.
Yeah.
Right. But I had one character I was going to kill off in chapter 3. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. She literally said, "I have more to give." Right? I know.
Oh,
how crazy is that?
Yeah, because they do, they're in your mind, and they, it's as if they're really there.
Yeah, and she turned out to be,
tell you, yeah,
right. And she wound up, and I get feedback that people rather like her. So I'm like, ooh, thank goodness I kept her, right?
Good move.
Yes. So do you have an excerpt that you would like to read for us? I think I would love to hear more. And I think you're going to do an excerpt from one of the books I have not read.
Oh yeah, Counted Among the Dead, the most recent one. Now this isn't actually the main characters. This is give a little introduction. Just the story set in 1993, but Monty's daughter Normie, young girl, has found notes written by 2 boys who survived the Halifax explosion. The boys are 12 years old, Lockie McIntyre and Michael Kavanagh. And this is Lockie's note for that fatal day of December 6th, 1917. And of course, the main characters come into the book as well in the modern times, but this is back in 1917. So this is Lockie McIntyre. "Carl, come on down to the harbor. There's a ship on fire." Lockie was standing in the doorway of Carl Newman's house on Veith Street. "But I never got that last question of my math lesson done," Carl said. "The teacher will kill me." "If I don't get to you first," Carl's mom called out. "Now get back to the table and finish your sums." Friedrich and Stefan, Carl's 2 little brothers, came up behind him in the doorway and chanted, "Teacher's going to kill you. Teacher's going to kill you. Boys, get back in there and clean your teeth and get your school bags ready." "What did Lockie say?" one of the boys asked. "Never you mind. Now do as I say and get ready for school." They turned and walked back into the house. Lockie said, "We'll only be gone for a minute, Mrs. Newman. There's a ship on fire in the harbor. Everybody's out looking at it." She sighed and said, "Boys, all right, Carl, run out and have a quick look, and then come right back and get ready to be at school on time. You'd better come up with a good excuse for your teacher if you don't get that lesson finished." I know. The boys ran out of the house and headed towards the corner with Richmond Street, which would take them down to the harbor. But Carl stopped and said, "Needham." And he turned on his heel and headed in the opposite direction. They could see the pier from Veith Street, but they'd get a great view of the ship and the harbor from being up high on the slope of Needham Hill. It was only a short run, and when they got up on the hill, they saw that lots of other people had the same idea and were running up the slope. Fire bells were ringing from all directions. Lockie looked down towards the pier, and there it was, a wall of flames in all kinds of colors, red and yellow and green and blue. And there was a great cloud of smoke shooting up from the ship. "Wow, Carl, can you believe that? There's going to be nothing left of that ship. They should move it away from..." It all happened at once. The biggest, loudest, rumbling sound of thunder Lockie could ever have imagined, and he could feel the thunder moving underneath the ground beneath him. A rush of wind blew him up into the air. He came down on his left side, and his elbow and hip flared with the pain. He heard people on the hill screaming and shouting words that would normally get you a belt across the arse, but not today. He pushed himself upright and looked to the harbor. He couldn't believe his eyes. There was an enormous cloud of smoke rising so high it seemed it was miles in height. What on earth was happening? He turned to Carl, who was lying on his back, staring with his eyes and his mouth gaping open. Lockie froze, staring at his friend's motionless body. Carl blinked then, and Lockie felt himself sagging with relief. He was about to speak to Carl when he saw something fly down on Carl's coat. They both looked up, and Lockie cried out as something hot burned into his face. It felt like a hot knife searing the skin of his cheek. He covered his head with his mittened hands. Everywhere on the hill, people were shouting and crying. When he looked around again, he saw a sailor lying on the ground above him, his dark blue jumper bunched up around his neck, one leg of his trousers gone. His face was smeared with black stuff, and he was muttering to himself, "Where am I? Where am I? Where's the boat?" Another man got up and walked over to him. Lockie heard them talking, and he realized the sailor had been working down by the pier and had been blown all the way up the city, into the city up the hill. Carl pushed himself to his feet, and he and Lockie walked to the top of the hill. All around them, they saw scenes they could never have imagined. "Hell," Lockie whispered, "hell." And it wasn't a curse. It was a description of the city below, or what they could see of it through the smoke. Where houses had been, now there were yards filled with broken timbers, lumps of concrete, roof shingles, everything busted. All that remained of the houses, as far as Lockie could see, were a few jagged, broken walls and open cellars. Oh, God, I have to get home," Carl said. He was crying. They both were. The two of them started running down the hill. A black, oily rain was falling, marking their faces and clothes with dark, greasy splotches. When they got to the street below, they saw wreckage all around them. Houses were flattened or partly collapsed. Some of them were in flames. The boys' neighborhood looked like a great big junkyard, with the broken planks and people's chairs and beds, stoves and pots and pans, all lying around the ruined houses along with blackened fallen trees and telephone poles. Things were twisted, broken, burnt. And then they saw the people.
Oh my goodness.
That's what happened in my neighborhood of Halifax.
Wow. That is, I was kind of riveted. I had to go quick to answer. Can you hold up the book? Sue Slade says, "I love the cover of Counted Among the Dead."
Yes.
Oh, look. Oh, wow.
Can you see? Oh, yeah, the light's not.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
That's a picture, of course, of the explosion scene.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And gosh, I have so many questions. Yeah. Where do your ideas come from? And do you have like a whole bunch like in waiting to make it onto the paper?
Yes, I usually have, I'll have to write one about this, or I'll have to write one about that. They come from, several of them are set in Ireland. And my family originally, not recently, but mostly from Ireland. And so I've always been interested in the place and the history. And I've been over there numerous times. I go every year pretty well. So I'm very interested in the history, the troubles, the conflict about the North and all that. And my characters are as well. Father Brennan Burke's family was as they're called, a well-known Republican family, which means an IRA family. So all that interests me. So I work a lot of that in as well. And I also have, Father Burke agonizes over the theory of a just war. He's a philosopher and among other things, musician and everything. And what is just? What kind of a war is just? And I think we would say the war against Hitler was just, but that what is done in that war is not always just by any side. So he agonizes about this. So that works its way in. And then the personal relationships that, Monty and Maura had conflict at first, and their kids, and, and Normie has she's a little bit of a druid, I'd say, a little bit of the second sight that her grandmother had, great grandmother had in Cape Breton. So I work things like that in.
Ooh, I can't wait to get to know Normie better.
Oh yeah. She's one of my favorites.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. And can we talk a little bit about your publisher? You have had the same publisher for 14 books.
Yeah.
ECW in Toronto.
Yeah. How
did you go about finding and securing a publishing contract?
Yeah, I went to the library, and I can't remember. I should remember the name of this publication, but it was about getting published or publishers who, getting published kind of thing. And I can't remember the title, which I apologize for. But I'd look through that, and I'd see some publishers did mysteries, so I'd submitted my, whatever they asked you to submit parts of the book, and I got a, kind of half complimentary rejection, but, some good words in that. But anyway, I didn't have an agent or anything. So then a year or two later, I went back to the book, and all of a sudden I saw ECW Press in Toronto was publishing mysteries. Okay, I'm going to try them. So I sent the required number of pages. And then I got a phone call from my publisher, Jack David. He was out in Vancouver looking over the bay or something, reading, about the Burke family having a poker game or something like this. And he wanted to, you know, that may actually been, that phone call might have been later when I think they asked for I'm sorry about this. I think they asked for them to come in, the whole book. And I think that's what we would have been reading at that time. And they decided to publish it. And that was it. And I was so pleased with them. They're so great. And they have wonderful editors, and we all need editors.
Oh, don't we? Yeah, yeah.
When people say they don't want to be edited, no, you've no idea what you're saying there. So we have the 3 stages of editing, kind of the big edit, you know, the substantive one, and then the copy edit and the proofreading. And they do all that wonderfully. So I'm very happy with them.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you know what? How lucky were you each to find one another? Because, you know, for you to just keep cranking them out, you know, they're probably just saying, okay, what's Father Burke going to do next? Like, you know, what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's right. So,
right.
Yeah, I've been very grateful to them. Yeah.
And so, when you signed that first contract for that very first book, was it a one and done, or did they say, we really like this, have you got more?
I think it was, I remember joking to a friend, you know, when I was submitting, I said, oh, I'm going to get a 3-book contract. Ha ha ha. We're kind of joking around like this, right? And it was a 3-book contract. So they've been 3 books. Most of the time, I think it's been 3 books. You know, and
well,
then
your lips to, you know, the power that be's ears, right? You put it out there, you know, you just keep saying it. So that's wonderful. And do you have one underway right now?
Yes, I'm writing one. It's set in Halifax. It's a murder of an elderly woman who's a really nice lady in the neighborhood and all this stuff. So trying to figure out why would anyone do that. And then I have another one that's being edited now. We'll be editing soon. And that's another one that's set in Ireland. They kind of go back and forth between, you know, it's not meant to be one in Halifax and one in Ireland, but it kind of worked out that way.
How it comes
so that
out.
Will be Brennan Burke's father going back to Ireland after a long, long absence. And let's just hope everything goes well for him when he gets there. So
and chances are it won't.
Chances are, you know, considering you let that fly out in the middle of the night and had to go out on a ship out of there very much in a hurry. So yeah, well, we'll see.
That's funny. So you have like 2 contracted simultaneously at different phases.
Yeah, kind of works out like that, you know.
I love that. I love that.
I think they're one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So do you have like an idea of like what number that you might stop at, or are you just going to keep writing as long as the ideas come?
Oh yeah. I can't imagine stopping. I'm sure you're the same way. It's almost addictive. It's just you have
almost
the called writer's tears, you know, it's addictive. I can't imagine stopping it.
No, it's not almost addictive, Anne. It's
okay. Let's be honest. It's addictive.
Let's just be honest here, right?
It's addictive. Can't imagine not doing it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And excuse me, we have Sue mentions the first one she read was Barrington Street Blues because of the name. Like, how do you come up with your titles? Do you have, you know, input on that, or do they recommend?
Yeah, it's usually my, you know, of course, that was obvious. I want one here in Halifax, Barrington Street Blues. One of them came from, you know, often they're inspired by different things. What I've been in Dublin, I don't know how many times, saw this building, I don't know how many times. And then one time a few years ago, I was staring at a building. It's part of the Justice Complex. And the inscription on it is Fiat Justitia Ruit Caelum, which translates as let justice be done though the heavens fall. And I'm just gazing at it. I think that's my next book.
Wow.
And that's the title of Though the Heavens Fall. And I said to myself, I know how to make the heavens fall. And
I love it.
Yeah. That inscription, I mean, Though the Heavens Fall. And that's the title of the book. And it won the best Crown novel that year. So I think it worked out. So the titles come from various, you know, inspirations kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. You've inspired me to think about one set in Ireland. I've been, I went for my 40th birthday. I'm an O'Connell. So obviously in every city, the main street is O'Connell Street.
Yes. Named after Daniel O'Connell, the liberator.
Right. My friends got a little annoyed, you know, about the 3rd or 4th time, but you know, I'm like, okay, well, let's look for a street that, you know, named after your ancestors. I don't know if he's an ancestor, but you know, I'm assuming so. So maybe going back. Yeah. I had a question and then I just went off on a tangent. So you work, oh, I know. I just wanted to share some of the other covers. So just that we can talk about, what other books you have, 14 and more coming. So everybody just, brace yourselves and add to that TBR list. So are there any that really are really near and dear to your heart, or like they're all pretty equal?
Oh, some of them I guess I love more than, I thought that I don't like all of them or I wouldn't have put them out there. But so, Children in the Morning, I really like that one. And when we're talking about titles, that comes from Leonard Cohen and Suzanne. There were children in the morning. They are leaning out for love and they will lean that way forever. And that's that one won an award too. And that's one of my favorite ones, And Ruined Abbey is another favorite one. That's named after the obviously ruined the abbeys that Cromwell and his people destroyed. And
there it is.
In Ireland and in England and everything. So that I was inspired by the history and the, of that and seeing the abbeys. So,
Lament for Bonnie is gorgeous as well. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. And it's fun when we're doing the cover for that, the publisher, I said, I'd like to have a piper in it, but I don't want it to be kind of a tourist banner or something, someone playing the pipes. And I said, you can find a picture from Scotland or Cape Breton. It'll look exactly the same. Because I'm not even sure that one's from Scotland or Cape Breton, because there's so much similarity in the landscapes. I figured when the people got to Cape Breton from Scotland, he must have looked around, geez, I'm home again.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And is it the same designer who does each one? Because they certainly have, a look and feel, right?
I should know that, but I don't really know. I mean, ECW presents them to me, and then I should know, but I'd like to give credit to whoever does them all because I love the covers. But.
They're just really stunning. I'm just looking at the copyright page here to see if they mention the.
The Heaven's Fall was. Sorry. Go ahead.
Tanya Cran, cover and text design. Tanya Cran, CRAAN. For Postmark Berlin, so I'm not sure if that's for all of them. But
and for the Heaven's Fall, that building in Dublin, it's a photographer that I met over there, Mick Quinn. He actually did a photo of me. They wanted an update photo of me at the publisher. Said okay, it was in Dublin at the time, so Mick Quinn to picture the building. So the Heaven's Fall. So that's where that came from.
So that's the actual building that inspired the story.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, you know what? And do you find that no matter where you are, like you just kind of do a 360 and absorb the surroundings?
Certainly a lot of places. Yeah. Because, one of the book has scenes in Germany, another has scenes in Italy. Coincidentally, my favorite places to go, Ireland, Italy, Germany, So,
right.
Settings are important to me as well. And I know I can't find the quote right now, but P.D. James, the great mystery writer, she talked about how important setting is. I don't like it when I read a book that's in a fictional place that you can't tell where it really is. I want to know. I want to be able to picture myself there.
I want to immerse myself in it. P.D. James is my all-time favorite mystery writer, and
there you go.
like her, the videos of her. She's passed, I believe, and she was like in her mid to late 80s and still writing.
Amazing.
So hopefully that'll be us, right, Anne?
I hope so.
Yeah. And she, I mean, if there's a writers watching and you want some inspiration, just go on YouTube and search P.D. James. She has some amazing videos and talks about things like scenes.
And I've got a couple of books here that I could show people if you want. Just in my.
Oh, sure.
It's P.D. James. Yeah. All right.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what? One of the things, if I'm talking to aspiring authors, I just say read the genre you want to write.
Yeah.
Read books on writing. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to add that. How come I don't have that on my shelf?
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one is about herself.
Time to be honest. Talking about detective fiction. Ooh.
Yeah. So those are really great. She's great. So. Yeah.
And you have detectives that kind of go in and out of your storylines. But do you have any that become more like a main character like Monty, or are they just kind of?
No, it's usually Monty and Brennan and her doing that. And sometimes Normie helps out, of course. But then there'll be a police officer once in a while for sure, depending on, or a Garda. I have a friend that Joe McGuinness at Nelly's set me up to meet a Garda in Ireland and Dublin, Liam Brown, and he's helped me a great deal. So I have my book Fenian Street is a young Garda. He's the main character in that one. Brennan is involved in it as well. That's set in the 1970s in Ireland. It kind of goes back in time there. And it happens around the times there's a lot of bombings in Dublin, so that comes into it. But anyway, this Garda friend has been great about police work over there.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? That's another little piece of advice. Sit in an Irish bar and have a whiskey and chat with the bartender.
Exactly. It works. And that's how Joe McGuinness here met Liam Brown, because Liam's wife's twin sister is married to a fellow from Halifax. They live here.
Oh, wow.
Originally from maybe part of those, but anyway, they live here. So Liam was visiting. He's in Nelly's having a pint or whatever, and he's complimenting, oh, it was a good pint. And they got talking, and they just met by accident.
Oh, wow.
And then another time, Joe McGuinness a couple of years ago was over in Dublin when I was there. So he and Liam and I went out to 𝐸'Neill's and had, yeah. So
had a couple. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, next time I head over to Ireland, I'm going to pick your brain.
Yeah. I'll let you know for sure.
Well, did you have anything final that you'd like to share that we didn't touch on? I can't believe we're already at our time. Like any advice?
I probably do, but I can't think of it right now, but
Well, we touched on so much, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And if you've got more coming out, we'll just have to get you back. And sure. I'm thoroughly enjoying the second one. So I will make sure I'm going to go back and make sure that I read them in order now, since I'm doing the number one
the first one. So you're on the way.
Excellent. Yeah. And I'll get Sue to watch for any more coming in, or get her to order them in for me. So, and Emery, writer of mystery, and I hopefully mentor for me. We can grab a coffee sometime, or
we will.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right.
All the better. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And so thank you so much for joining us, and we'll get you back sometime soon.
Right.
Real soon.
And thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. All right. And thank you all for joining us on the author journey this week. I'm Ann O'Connell with OC Publishing, and I hope you're reading lots of good books. And if you're an author, that you're writing and getting them out there. We certainly love to chat with authors of all genres and indies and trad, whatever. So make sure you reach out if you'd like to be featured on the author journey. So for now, I say good day and happy reading and happy writing, and we'll see you again next time on the author